Today we are going to have a close look at this guy. This is the DD Hammock, DD Travel Hammock and Bivy. And it is a very versatile hammock that could also be mounted on the ground. This is the way it packs, and on here it also says some basic stuff about it. It says that it's an 190T polyester PU coated together with the mosquito net. It has a waterproof base layer, that means you can use it on a wet ground, and insulation can be put between the layers in cold weather. It zips on either side so you can have quick entry and exit. It can be used without a mosquito net when needed, but that means you will flip it around and use it the other way around without the mosquito net. And you have internal pockets and loops for storing or hanging gear, which is really nice. The size of this hammock I will put on the screen right now. And the weight is approximately 1 kilo, which is a little bit heavy for being this kind of hammock kit. However, having the combo of a hammock with mosquito net and also the possibility to mount it on the ground as a bivy makes it really versatile, which I believe is something that you can kind of be a bit more forgiving when it comes to the size. To have a bit of a size reference, next to it now is my Bushman Vagabond. This is a very lightweight hammock that also comes with a built-in included mosquito net. And as you can see, it's about 1/3 of the size of the DD Hammock. One thing that you always have to deal with when you're gonna mount your hammock is to find ample spacing in between. It can't be too far and it can't be too near. You need to have a good spot with trees to hang the hammock from. And I believe I have found a decent spot here, but you never really know before you try. So in this case it was clearly too far between the trees and I have to look for an alternative tree. The way you hang this hammock means that it is quite important the size of the trees, because you wrap the mounting system right around the tree like this, and then you put a knot in. And I was kind of frightened at first that this wouldn't hold the hammock, but I can tell you for sure that this is super sturdy. It doesn't give much weight at all, and you don't even need to make an advanced knot. I just do like a pretty simple double knot there, and it sits just the way that it should. But what this means is, when you look at the other side here, I put it at a much larger tree. It consumes way more of the lace that you have for the hammock. I want to get it at a decent angle. I think this angle is going to work pretty good, but we're going to try it once we're finished with the whole setup. I also managed to tangle the hammock a little bit there, so I'm going to undo that so that it's not set up in a strange way. That is much better, and as you can see, this is the kind of lace that I did. I wrapped it around the tree and then put a normal lace around, and it sits super sturdy in there. The next step is that the hammock comes with the built-in mosquito net that has this attachment, and this you need to use with the poles that come with it, and then attach this also up to the tree. Here we have the 2 little sticks that it comes with, so you just fold them up, put them together like that, and they go on each side of the mosquito net to hold the mosquito net out. The hammock is fully mounted, and we can have a closer look at its features and what makes this hammock stand out compared to other products on the market. Here you can see the way the stick is mounted. It slides right in there on the side and then sits in this holder. But you also have these guys. If you want to use just a branch, that also works pretty well. But you have to find one that is of the right size, the right shape, and so on. The mosquito net is not detachable. It sits sewn in here on the side. On both sides you have the zippers. So you just open this up and you make your sleeping area the way that you want it inside. And we're gonna have a closer look at how I would set this up as preferable as possible. On the other side here, you can snap it together, but it has these 2 layers. And if you want to, you can put your sleeping pad in between these layers. It is sort of working, but I feel like the way the shape of the hammock works, it's not perfect to have that layer in between to put your sleeping pad. And maybe when you use this on a bivy style on the ground, it works better because it becomes flatter. I would guess that it's better with that setup. I haven't been a huge fan of setting this up with the mid layer there. The material of the hammock is kind of slidey, which means that if you put the pad in between here, it's not really staying in place. And that's probably something you can work out with some kind of homemade solution, but I haven't been able to figure that out, so I would prefer to just put the pad in the hammock instead. As I said before, these loops just attach to the same tree as you mounted the hammock and holds the mosquito net up in place. My preferred pad with this hammock is the Climate Hammock Pad. This is very insulated and very shaped to be put inside a hammock. So it's quite quick to blow up, a little bit harder to get the air out of it. But for this kind of hammock setup, it really works well. So let's put this one inside. As you can see when using this pad, it pushes out the sides of the hammock quite a bit so that you get ample sleeping space, and it is very much the right length for this kind of hammock as well. The last piece of the puzzle is putting a sleeping bag in place, and I use with hammock my Western Mountaineering Caribou MF, which works super well both as a sleeping bag but also as a quilt. So you just have the foot box for your feet, and then you put this on top of you, and you just use the bottom of the mattress as insulation and as your sort of bottom layer. This one also compresses really well and is super warm. It goes down to around 2 degrees or so. Now let's get inside the hammock and see how it works. Now you can see the full inside, and as you can see, the mattress, the pad here, is really taking up some space inside the hammock and makes this a pretty versatile, usable space. As you can see, the lines towards the end there hold up the mosquito net really well, so we almost have like a little mini house in here. Looking in the other direction, you have the same thing happening there. These guys are insulating very well on the sides, so you won't have any issue with getting cold on your shoulders. And we have this little box up top that holds up the mosquito net in a pretty great position actually. In terms of the sleeping bag setup, I would just put my feet in like that, and then I would wrap this around me like a quilt, and you have it all set up like that. I can put this all the way up and wrap it around my neck, around my shoulders if I want to. Over here we have this little pocket that you can put your phone, your wallet or other valuables that you don't want to keep in your pockets when you're sleeping, and you don't want them in your bag outside of the hammock. Fortunately, this is now a very sunny day. Although this summer has been super rainy, we have a summer day and there is no prognosis for rain, so I don't need to have a rain cover on top. But if there would be a prognosis for rain, you would need to have a tarp on top of this. One of the things that's worth pointing out here is that this hammock is pretty short. But with this setup, with this mattress, it pushes out the sides enough so that I get a comfortable sleeping space. I generally prefer being able to lie diagonally, but it hasn't been a big problem. If you want to use the hammock on the ground instead of hanging it from a tree, What you do is you find, of course, a flat spot, and then you take it out on the sides like that. And you have these mounting holes on the side where you can use your spikes to put it down so that it holds stable into the ground. You would also need to, of course, attach the mosquito net up to some kind of tree or trekking pole or similar if you want the mosquito net to be held up properly. I have actually not used this in this setting, so I can't vouch for it to be either good or bad, but having the flexibility, especially when using it with this kind of pad, is really nice. If you come to a place where there are no trees and you have a hammock setup with an underquilt, for example, it's not great. These attachment holes for spikes also work to attach an underquilt. However, when I used this with underquilt, I didn't really enjoy it. The fact that the mosquito net is attached all the way around made it a little bit hard to get the underquilt properly in place. So after trying that out, I really prefer to use it with this kind of pad setup. Getting the hammock back in the stuff sack is a pretty smooth process. It's a good size, it's not undersized, which a terrible lot of outdoor equipment stuff sacks otherwise are. And here you have the full kit that I was using. We have the hammock in the middle, we have the pad to the side. As I told you before, a little bit harder to get that one into its bag after you've used it. And then we have the sleeping bag on the left. This, together with the tarp, if it's raining, is the full hammock system you need. So what's my verdict about the DD Hammock DD Travel Hammock? It definitely has some pros. It is priced at only around 50 or 60 euros, which is amazing value for money. It's a decent quality one, it is easy to set up, and it comes with a built-in mounting system. However, it's a bit harder to use together with a system based off of an underquilt. So if you want to use it with an underquilt, I would recommend going with a different model. It is one of the most versatile systems if you want something that can go both on the ground or hang from trees. Which means that you're not dependent on finding trees when you're out hiking. This becomes a super flexible system in those regards. However, the size and weight of it, I think, is a real killer. When I'm using a much smaller hammock like the Vagabond, then this guy becomes a little bit obsolete because it's so much bigger. What do you think? Are you interested in buying the DD Travel Hammock? Let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. Have a nice day. Bye bye.